A long time after the meteorite disaster, Arisu participated in an interview to share about the time he was in a coma. But what remained in his memory was only the feeling of being lost in a mysterious land, with all specific details completely vague. The investigation began with psychiatrist Matsuyama Ruji, a paraplegic man constantly haunted by the so-called realm of the dead and the events that took place there. After leaving the interview room, Matsuyama went with Arisu to chat some more. They stumbled upon Usagi, Arisu's current wife, waiting for him. You heard that right. They actually got married and are living together. Before leaving, Matsuyama left a business card with an appointment to contact Usagi for an interview, which she agreed to. Matsuyama then returned home and unexpectedly received a message from a stranger promising to provide information about the world of the dead. Since he was in Japan and figured scams were rarer than bad sushi, Matsuyama decided to meet the woman at a restaurant. Through their conversation, we learned that there exists a mysterious conference where those who wish to become scholars gather. Like a shark smelling blood, Matsuyama immediately went to the email appointment to discuss his near-death experience. When he arrived, a few people were already gathered around a round table. Once the seats were filled, a card drawing game immediately began. The rules are simple. Players take turns drawing cards from each other. If a pair appears, it can be discarded. The winner is the one left holding the Joker card. However, if the Joker card is drawn by someone else, the person holding it will die instantly from an electric shock. Those who fearfully leave their seats face the same fate. The result was predictable. Matsuyama emerged as the final winner. Then the dealer revealed his true face, none other than Banda, one of the players who chose to become a resident of Borderland previously. Back to Arisu, he's currently an intern in psychological counseling. Surprisingly, a former player was his first client there. She appeared and revealed that they had met before. It seems she also found a way to return to the game. Arisu had his suspicions but couldn't recall anything. Meanwhile, Usagi, haunted by her father's death, accidentally entered the Paradise Hotel. If you didn't know, this is where much of the drama in Season 1 began. As a result, haunting memories of Borderland kept resurfacing, making Usagi dizzy with those recollections. That very night, she called her husband, sobbing and apologizing. This made Arisu extremely worried and prompted him to search for her. The next day, the police only found that Usagi was with Matsuyama. After that, there were no further clues. The investigation team thought it was an affair, but Arisu didn't believe so. He continued to check the professor's office and found footage of Usagi mentioning her nightmares about her father's death. She also admitted she couldn't tell her husband about those experiences. On the way back, Arisu ran into Banda. He introduced himself as the Joker and hinted at wanting Arisu to join the game again. Suddenly, the main character received news that his wife was in critical condition in the hospital and she was pregnant. Next to her bed was Matsuyama. While checking Usagi's belongings for clues, Arisu discovered another Joker card. He immediately went to the nursing home. She explained that it's very likely Matsuyama manipulated Usagi into bringing herself to the brink of death. From there, both could set foot in Borderland. In real-world time, there were only 2 minutes left before complete death. But the world in Borderland is different. Time flows uniquely there. Everything they experienced in the past 2 months could have happened in just 1 minute in reality. To bring Usagi and Matsuyama back, Arisu had no choice but to return and play the game again. So he agreed to be injected with Insulinac, a hypoglycemic compound that can temporarily stop the heart. If overdosed, everyone around would disappear. Based on a signpost, Arisu reached Haikawa Shrine, the first gathering place for the game. And now the game begins. The first game of Season 3 is called Fate. All players must roll 10 random fortune-telling balls, with each turn lasting only 1 minute, and each person can roll only once. If they decode the message correctly and survive, they pass the game. A young man on drugs named Tetsu drew a lucky fortune, seemingly a sign that he would be lucky and safe. Others had to take Asian's national high school graduation exam, specifically solving multiple-choice questions and real-life math problems. Each wrong answer would result in a number of rockets falling equal to the difference between the correct answer and their given answer. At one point, 448 arrows tore through the sky simultaneously, killing scores of people. And honestly, if I were there, the number wouldn't stop at 448. In the final turn, Arisu drew a great disaster and had to estimate the world's population. The margin of error for this calculation was 100 million, meaning 100 million arrows were about to fall. He realized that previous draws all suggested an unfavorable direction, in this case the direction the arrows were shot. Only the northwest direction hadn't appeared yet, so he led the group to run there and found a hidden tunnel. From there, everyone luckily escaped to the basement safely, and the game was cleared. However, they still had to move from game to game without rest. Through the players' flashbacks, we learned that they were all given a Joker card by Banda, meaning they all set foot in Borderland and escaped successfully. The next game is called Zombie Hunter. Each player receives 7 cards and competes by comparing the total points of cards of the same suit. The winner takes a card from the loser's hand. 3 special cards are added, including the zombie card. If you hold this card, you automatically win. The loser will be infected with the zombie virus and add a zombie card to their deck. The shotgun card is used to shoot down someone with a zombie card, but if used when drawing a zombie, that person dies. This card can only be used once. The vaccine card helps zombies return to normal, randomly given to one person, and can only help others, not oneself. After 20 rounds, the team with the fewest surviving members is eliminated. Note that the groups here are divided into humans and zombies. Arisu realizes the key to winning is finding out who holds the vaccine card. Meanwhile, he still hopes to find Usagi, but since the games rotate like tournaments, there's a good chance they'll face each other. Thanks to his experience reading people from the previous game, Arisu discovered a girl avoiding his eyes was a zombie. Of course, the protagonist wouldn't choose to kill her, but wanted to form an alliance to leverage the vaccine. On the other hand, a girl named Ray proposed a solution by convincing all players that they had enough vaccines to cure anyone who turned into a zombie, and also had shotguns to kill the infected. This would keep zombies at bay, increasing their numbers. Conflicts quickly arose because not everyone agreed or followed this trust-based plan. A hot-tempered guy named Ikano wanted to use shotguns to kill all zombies. This escalated tensions, forcing zombies to play offensively, infecting more people. Meanwhile, Ray seemed to enjoy the chaos in front of Arisu's surprised face. It seems that in this life-and-death world, there can't be a peaceful way of playing as Arisu expected. Ikano stood up as the leader of the human side, forcing shotgun holders to shoot zombies instead of saving them with vaccine cards. This caused zombies to spread like wildfire, pushing everyone into confusion and suspicion. Nobu, a boy tasked with killing a zombie, unfortunately got infected by someone else and had to hide it to avoid execution. Arisu appeared with the vaccine card. He approached Nobu with a challenge and a secret. Meanwhile, Ray challenged Ikano. She pointed out that zombies would soon be the majority, and Ikano's strategy would only worsen the situation without benefits. From there, Ray tried to manipulate Ikano into turning into a zombie to keep the advantage, but he firmly refused. Back to Arisu, his secret was finally revealed. He was a zombie and had cleverly hidden it from everyone. Well, it's only natural for a psychology intern to understand people. Through this, Arisu infected Ray and Tetsu to save them both according to his plan. And Nobu turned Kazuya, a criminal, into a zombie at the last second to save him. So the game ended with a score of 3,213 in favor of the zombies, meaning the entire human group would be eliminated. The story now shifts to Usagi. At the hotel, Matsuyama asked her about her late father and promised to join her in finding answers. The answer here is that she was deceived because Matsuyama only wanted to trick her into drinking poison to bring Usagi along with himself into Borderland at Banda's urging. After escaping the death game, Matsuyama admitted to being obsessed with seeing the games in Borderland. Usagi didn't care much as she was only thinking about her father and husband. However, there was no other choice now. The two continued their journey with the train racing game. Their mission was to move through 8 train cars to the driver's car and the forest. Each time they entered a new car, the back door would lock, and after 30 seconds, oxygen or toxic gas would randomly flow between cars. Of the 8 cars, 4 contained poisonous gas. Each person had 5 non-shareable neutralizing gas canisters and couldn't return to previous cars. In each car, a canary was placed as a warning. Seeing a dead bird meant there was poison. The group initially wasted neutralizing gas canisters unnecessarily. It wasn't until the 3rd car that people began to trust each other enough to save the anti-poison canisters. There was even a player who thought that by looking at the train's roof based on the electric meter's location, he could guess which car had toxic gas. But this idea was immediately debunked when he stepped into the next car and realized it wasn't the common pipe model he assumed. They now had only 3 cars and 2 gas canisters left. Unfortunately, a wrong decision caused them to waste another canister, putting everyone in a precarious situation. Episode 4 opens with overwhelming fear. The group of players realized they could die on this train. The previously fragile alliance began to crack, with the only hope being the train running parallel beside it. They jumped over one by one as the trains ran alongside each other. But not everyone succeeded. Matsuyama recklessly grabbed the handrail to swing across and escape death by a split second. While resting, the group suddenly saw Arisu's train appear on the opposite side. As the endpoint approached, they were forced to find a way to stop the train before it was too late. Arisu's group reached the driver's car in time and pulled the emergency brake, but this caused many to be seriously injured. Arisu lost a lot of blood, but thanks to Tetsu and Rei's sewing kit he survived. The film then reveals that Matsuyama was involved in research on near-death experiences with a female student named Yano. The failed experiment caused her death, and that obsession drove Matsuyama to Borderland to seek the truth. The two groups of players then moved on to semifinal games at 2 different locations. One group had to participate in the Bingo Tower game at Tokyo Tower. Players had to climb the metal frame and press signal buttons at the numbered positions on the bingo board. Completing a horizontal, vertical, or diagonal row would pass the game. However, with the tower's structure as sturdy as Crush's love for you, many players climbed up and then fell because screws and metal pieces kept falling. In the end, perhaps thanks to past climbing experience, Usagi successfully reached the top button and won. On the other hand, Arisu's group started with a game of kick the can. However, the cans were time bombs. Players had to return them to their original position and place them in storage before they exploded. If left alone, they would kill you, but they could also be passed to others to reset the countdown timer. At the same time, a strong collision would cause the cans to explode. Despite the onslaught of opponents, Rei, Nobu, and Tetsu successfully passed the game. Arisu also managed to return the penultimate can to the nest, surviving by a hair's breadth. However, Kazuya was unlucky and had to sacrifice himself to save his teammates. Other players also met tragic ends due to competing with each other. Meanwhile, Matsuyama quietly left the game to meet Banda on the rooftop. The Borderland resident revealed that he wanted Arisu to stay in Borderland forever because he was born to belong there. Without Arisu, he wouldn't have become a citizen there. His plan was to use Matsuyama to kill Usagi because if his wife died, Arisu would have no reason to return to the real world. In return, Banda promised to grant Matsuyama a true near-death experience, something he always craved. The final game began. All players were placed in a recreated version of Shibuya City, surrounded by digital screens. They were no longer in the real world but had to follow their virtual copies. Following these projections, groups gradually gathered. And so the reunion of the century between Arisu and his wife took place here. At the same time, Arisu punched Matsuyama for daring to harm his wife. But Usagi thought differently and defended Matsuyama because, without him, she would never have reunited with her husband. The system announced 10 finalists, but there were clearly only 9 in the room. This left Usagi speechless as she had just learned she was pregnant. But the time for reflection was for another moment, as the game had now begun. In the final game, players had to wear bracelets and necklaces before starting. There were 25 rooms arranged in a 5x5 grid. Each round required rolling a die in the middle of the room. The number that appeared would determine how many people could move on. Those not allowed to leave would have their rooms locked. To save them, 2 people needed to stand on either side to open the latch with their arms. Each person had 15 points. Moving to a new room cost 1 point, and staying in a room cost an additional point. To return to an old room, you had to wait for your turn. Meanwhile, the surrounding walls projected images of each person's future. Choosing that path would make those images reality after exiting the game. There were 15 rounds in total. Anyone who ran out of points before the game ended would lose and be eliminated. Arisu then suggested everyone cooperate, and they gained 2 new members, Suta and Yuna. The original plan was to split up and reunite in nearby rooms. Thanks to a smartwatch showing locations and enabling communication, they could gather. But as they explored, the group realized some rooms had penalty points ranging from -1 to -8. This forced them to nominate someone to take the blame, throwing the atmosphere into chaos. After facing the past and choosing between teammates and a happy future, Tetsu and Soda died in the game. After being separated in the maze for a while, the group finally gathered in 2 separate rooms. The clue showed the exit was in room A5, located in the bottom left corner of the map. But to get there, they had to calculate extremely carefully. Yuna then rushed into a room with her brother Shota, making Arisu reluctant to deduct her points. From here, the result was clear. Arisu now had very few points left to survive. Meanwhile, Matsuyama, Nobu, Sakyo, and Uesagi were forced to split into 3 different directions. They found room A3, where Tetsu was deducted 8 points and died. The next move would determine who survived and who disappeared, and all would be answered in the Season 3 finale. Episode 6 of Alice in Borderland Season 3 opens as the final game continues. Arisu is determined to get everyone out safely, not letting anyone else die. In a heartbreaking decision, Usagi chose to use the points of the unborn child within her to keep herself alive. Now both she and her son had only 7 points left. Arisu quickly realized that if they used the baby's bracelet as a decoy, everyone could safely gather in room A5, the exit. Simply because even if it exploded, no one would die since the baby couldn't wear it. And the plan worked. The system asked to roll the die to decide how many people could move on. With the current total of 8 members, you could tell without looking that the result was 7, meaning someone had to be sacrificed. Arisu volunteered to stay so everyone could escape the game because, looking at the future wall, he knew he would die. Usagi cried helplessly at her husband's actions. The others saw this and helped him fulfill his wish by escaping the maze and taking Usagi with them. Looking through the projection screen, Arisu saw Matsuyama about to shoot his wife, as Banda had said. To their surprise, the Joker card appeared and the group outside faced a world-changing flood. Banda suddenly appeared, taunting and tempting Arisu to become a Borderland citizen to continue enjoying the game. From this point we can see this guy definitely has some obsession with Arisu. Of course, the protagonist resisted at this moment. He broke the door to pull them back, preventing them from being swept away by the water. But while trying to save Uesagi, Banda appeared in real life. He wanted Arisu to die and be stuck in Borderland forever. However, the plan quickly fell apart. When Anne saw Banda, she immediately rushed to save Arisu. So Banda was about to shoot Arisu in Borderland, as if failing to lure him, he'd kill him out of spite. Finally, a mysterious man appeared and killed Banda. Time suddenly froze, and the mysterious man approached Arisu, introducing himself as Watchman, the guardian of the boundary between life and death. He invited Arisu to play a final game of drawing one of 2 cards. If it was the Joker, he would decide what Arisu would do. But Arisu, being extremely smart, he realized it was a trick. And indeed, both cards were jokers. Watchmen explained that the Joker is neither a person nor a power, just a card symbolizing the choice between dying in the vortex of the Great Flood or living a difficult life before accepting death. No matter the choice, everyone comes here and faces the same outcome. He warned of an impending major disaster that could kill large numbers of people. Without hesitation, Arisu chose to live. But his wife was still stuck in the vortex. Thanks to Matsuyama's enlightenment, the two escaped to a place of light. In the process, Usagi finally shed the burden of her father's death to embrace a brighter life ahead. Arisu finally woke up after 2 minutes of coma. Usagi also recovered in the hospital. They were happy together with their unborn child. But the Watchmen's earlier warning began to come true. On TV, news reports mentioned numerous earthquakes worldwide with an unbelievable number of victims. This means a new wave of immigration is coming to Borderland, and another round of games is about to begin. Do you see something wrong here? The movie is called Alice in Borderland. So, where's Alice? Don't leave yet. Because in California, the movie shows us a waitress wearing a name tag that says Alice. Is this a hint for a fourth movie set outside Japan, or is this girl the one who created the game?